Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Want to see what's brand new in September 1982? We were last checking out the release of Tron, ported over by Mattel on our Atari VCS. Let's see what is next. It's time to go to the United Kingdom and play Tyrant of Athens on the Sinclair ZX81. So Tyrant of Athens is another one by Lothlorien. We played one others called Samurai Warrior. It's possible this one was the one that was actually released before that, the first one by MC Lothlorien. Let's take a look at the cassette case. Tyrant of Athens. Now, if it doesn't scream strategy to you, hopefully it will by the time we boot it up. So you only need 16K for this one. Do we have anything else for Tyrant of Athens? Yes, we have. If you open up the whole sleeve, it tells you all about the game. The setting, your objective, how the game works. You have an opening phase. You have to tell your troops what to do, purchase food. You have a battle phase, and then criteria for success and failure. So there's it's a high-level strategy game, and we've already seen a few titles that are similar to this one. I'm actually not going to play this version of Tyrant of Athens because there's another one. There was also Tyrant of Athens on the Dragon 32. So depending on whatever computer you have in the United Kingdom, you could also have gotten it on this one, and it should look about the same. All they did was replace the sticker with the Dragon 32 sticker. Hopefully you got the 32K of RAM in there, and then but that's not the version I'm going to be playing either. Because it really doesn't matter what flavor or computer you have of Tyrant of Athens, they're all pretty much the same. We also have Tyrant of Athens on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is the one we're going to check out. Because it doesn't matter which one you play. When you play one Tyrant of Athens, you played them all. Let's take a look at the box of Tyrant of Athens. There we go. Lothlorien, you only need 16K on your ZX Spectrum to play. And there's the cassette tape we're going to pop in to play Tyrant of Athens. I know, right? It does sound like something Tolkien should sue for. All right, so this one has several variations of versions. Let's just pop in that cassette tape and play Tyrant of Athens by MC Lothlorien at sometime in September 1982. Essentially, you'll get no music if you play this on the ZX81, and it will have a slightly different color scheme, but it's the same game. Oh, refer to the written notes. We should do that. All right, what does the written note say? All right, so we have a homemade manual. This is essentially the inside sleeve of what you would have gotten. The setting is Athens in the 5th century BC. You're best by hostile armies and fleets of other powerful Greek city-states, as well as the vast Persian Empire. And your empire is to survive as long as enough to turn Athens into the most feared state in the Mediterranean by building warships, training troops, fighting battles by land and by sea. And so the inside sleeve pretty much explains what you need to do in the game. This is a one-player only strategy game, though. So this is how it starts. It's a turn-based affair. It's now going to ask us with how many people or how many troops do we want to hire up. I'm going to go ahead and go with 300. You can see we can choose 666 if we wanted to. The Mark of the Beast. And then now it's asking how many warships we want. Let's go with 15 warships. I'm essentially just doing its command, based, like you select from a series of commands and then go from there. How many merchant ships do we want? Let's go with 6. Shows us the cost at the top of the screen. And then that is our allies. We have none right now, so I'm going to say 0. No one's allied with us. And then we can set up our food that we want. Let's go ahead and go with 6,000 for that one. And then for the rest of it, let's go big. Let's go 15,000. You got to pay those troops. So we're essentially making the decisions we want. And now it says there's an Ionian fleet approaching with 104 ships. We have, for merchant ships, we have 150, so do we want to fight? Let's say no. We won't fight the Ionian fleet. We're getting close. The enemy demands a tribute of 500 talents, 2,000 units of food, and 3 merchant ships. So it's going to take that all away. Since we didn't fight, we have to pay tribute instead. Oh, now it's Persian armies approaching with 11,000 men. Okay, so we got 16,000. I think we can take them on. Let's go ahead and say yes. How many men do you want to use? Let's try 15,000 and see if that would take out the Persians. Now, here's where it switches to the battle mode, and it's all randomized. There you go. Athenians were on the left, Persians on the right. And this is the battle mode. I'm not doing anything to control this. You just let it play out and then see what happens. So it's rolling the dice now. And we've been defeated. I thought we had more troops, but it's still going to be rolling the dice for you. Disaster. Insufficient funds to pay tribute. Many of your people are sold into slavery. So, just a terrible, terrible end. So you can see what the game's familiar with. There's other titles we've seen. One of the very first ones we ever saw on the show was Santa Peravio and Formaggio. It's based on Sumer variants, or the mainframe Sumer games. And then we've also played other ones like Warren's World, Lost Colony, and then more recent ones that we've seen on the show were Viking, and then the one we just mentioned that was possibly first, or not first, by Lothorian, which was Samurai Warrior. That was pretty good. But all you're doing is selecting options from a command and then determining if those options were the best choice or not the best choice. Thanks, Chiptune. So of all the games you can be playing right now on a home computer, this one, I gave the nod to Samurai Warrior, saying it was 3 stars because the concept, being a samurai. Yeah, Chiptune saying 2.5. This obviously may not be your cup of tea, but this one, compared to the other ones we've seen with this formula, I really don't feel as polished. And from what I've seen for ratings and magazines at the time, they would say subpar as well. So I'm gonna comply. 2.5 compared to everything else. Yes, not necessarily Ubicore. I have no idea what that game is, or pretending I don't know what it is. So we'll do the same for both the Dragon 32 and the ZX81, unless there's someone out there that claims Tyrant of Athens on the Dragon 32 is the superior version. You can come and tell me about it later. All right, let's see what our next title is. Let's go play some UFO Escapers on the Commodore VIC-20. If William Shatner hasn't sold you a VIC-20 by now, well then you better buy one. This one is pretty obscure. We only have a few screenshots for this one, so let's just pop it and play UFO Escapers. This is by Brendan Jones at sometime in September 1982. Stop the aliens from escaping in their UFOs. We can fire and then or use keyboard controls. We're going to go with joystick, so I'm going to hit J for joystick, and let's just go. So it is left, right, and fire. I'm at the bottom of the screen. I can barely see my shot, but I can see the alien shots. There is a static screen, but so it's essentially the same shooters we've seen, the simplified ones. Move left, right, move fire, and fire, but I only have one shot at a time. What is the only thing that's interesting to this is the first game that's a fixed shooter, just moving left, right, and fire, and all the enemies are scrolling in from the right to the left side of the screen. Oh, hit any key? Oh, joystick doesn't work. Okay, it just goes game over. But man, it's very difficult. Look how fast the shots of the aliens that come down. Yikes. Yeah, it is really, really tricky to avoid those shots. But it is a different concept because we've already seen Space Invaders that are tilted completely on its side. You know, the shooter, your shot is moving up and down on the side of the screen. Think of like the first scene of Marauder that we've seen on home computers. It begins with you on the right side moving up and down, and you're shooting all the invaders on the left side. But this one is essentially Space Invaders, but all the enemies are on screen. It's a really smart way to do it without using up all the memory. But as far as it's too difficult to be considered like a good or quality game. This is definitely in the bad range of all the games you could be playing right now. I just give them a tip of the hat for saying, cool idea, bring them in from the side. Brian's already thrown out. Yeah, you gotta be able to, yeah, this is, I'm putting it gently, and that's true. Of all the games you could be playing right now on a home computer, though, UFO Escapers is a bad title. I wouldn't say broken, but I'm going to say 1.5 stars of all the things so far. There are much better shooters out there. And there you go, the chat, Chiptune, I'm already seeing an arrow. 1.5 stars of all the games you could play. I mean, think of all the other computer games right now that you could be into or be playing. Yeah, that's true. Good point, Manly. I like that. And then Scrubby Legs is giving it 2.5 as well. We're just flying through the titles. Let's see what our next one is. We're still going to play on our Commodore VIC-20. This is Ultimate Tank. I think we've seen plenty and plenty of tank games. This one is another one. Let's take a look at the box. So we've seen a few boxes like this by Sumlock, and where they have the, like, from the a shelf that you would pull up, or from the racks that you would pull off the top. You can see the cassette tape at the bottom. Ultimate Tank. 1 or 2 players battle spiders and giant space eyes. Tank appears stationary while terrain moves for an inside the tank feel. I don't know exactly what that means, but we're going to find out. Multiple skill levels requires 3K or 8K expander. We got the 8K expander for our VIC-20, and you can use joystick and then keyboard control for number 2 is what it says. This is the idea what I've seen in magazines for the time for Ultimate Tank. And it says it's only 17 bucks here. 1 or 2 players buy. Okay, it's the same thing that's on the front of the box. So the ad has nothing different. It says Little Wizard Distributing was for this one, and I think it was released in another way too. So it's a little harder to come by. Yeah, I'm already interested as well. It already looks good. There's no the wizard has nothing to do with the game. It has to do with Microfin is where that's coming from. All right, let's pop in and play some Ultimate Tank. This is Little Wizard Distributing, published by Microfex at sometime in September 1982. And I'm going to speed us up to go, right into it. Okay, it's going to ask what level of difficulty we want to play. We're going to do level 1. How many players do we want? I'm going to select 1 player right now. And then it has peak. In other words, how much are you want to be able to see all the other enemies? So I'm just going to say 1, which is the easier difficulty. All right, now we're in the game. I am on the far right side of the screen. I'm going to let the spider come at me. So you can see we have an energy display, how many mines are there, and we can drop mines if we want to. Now, every time that I turn the tank, the entire world moves around the tank. So it is the world moving while the tank, I guess if you move forward, now it's scrolling. So it is working like a pseudo scroll on the screen, but you notice whenever I want to turn left and right, it moves everything, which is a little jarring for all viewers, but when you're playing the game, it makes more sense. So we see we need to destroy giant spiders. I'm going to make my way over here, and I got shots that I can blow up the trees. Yeah, they turn into black charred remains, which is kind of cool. And then right here, the blue is going to replenish our energy and fuel for shots. So every time you move around, you can see the energy is going down. And I haven't used mines yet. Mines is a keyboard command. So as far as the way the game is controlled, it's a little interesting. It's not controlling like the usual tank variants we've seen. It still is, but we've seen smoother ones programmed in machine language. This one's still it's moving tile based. But there's one thing this game has compared to anything else we've seen that we've never seen before. Where are these spiders coming from? I feel like they're being generated. They're just coming after us. So you can see I raised my energy up going through the blue part. And it also looks like we're getting like code or jargon, just garbage on the side of the screen. I'm not sure what that is. It's very strange. Chiptune's already wanted to kick it into the sun. I know, yeah, the magic bullet, it doesn't really do too much. The other thing that's strange is, where's the sound? I'm firing off shots, and I got nothing. Uh-oh, energy's going down. We got to get to the... There we go. So energy came back. We're just destroying spiders. If our energy does go down below 0, then we'll die. And you can see at the top of the screen, it's showing when the wave we're on, wave 151. But it is strange that there's no sound. So don't just your audio. It's not displaying anything. And then whenever you do die, it gives you a whole view of the map where we were. You can see the spiders are over on that side. So this gives you a kind of a broader spectrum of what the map is. So this by itself, I would have given this 1.5, maybe 2 stars. So I'd be around the bad range for what we've seen right now. I know that the turning is very disorienting, especially if you're watching the show. So now let me show you something else though. What this really has going for it, I'm going to pop in the cassette again and play. I know it's interesting, but here's what makes this game truly unique. I'm going to go with same skill level. Now I'm going to go 2 players, and I'm going to do the same level of peak. Now check it out. The reason why it showed one side is because this is a 2-player split-screen tank game. And you can play with, the second player is going to be controlling it with the keyboard to move around. And they move the same way, so their screen's on the same. If you look at down the below, we have a small compass showing us the direction of where we are on the map. And you can see I'm moving in real time on one side of the screen while the other player is moving on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first 2-player cooperative split-screen video game we've ever played. And by cooperative, I don't mean same time. I mean we're working together, me and the other player, to destroy the spiders. I know we can obviously compete against each other with score, if you wanted to say that way, but this is us on the same screen together. So we've seen co-op split-screen games like 2 people, or we've seen split-screen games with 2 people, like the Street Racer or Speedway 2 that's on the Atari VCS. But that one's not, it's completely competitive. And then we've also seen bowling on the Interton VC4000, which is a home console, and that's still competitive. It's bowling, you take turns. But then we played Nautilus, which was on the Atari 800. That was competitive split screen, where it is independent. You're able to move independently, but this is the very first time you and a friend are on the same screen, split screen, working together for a common goal. That's what this game has going for it. So while you can complain about, the way it's presented, the tile-based or slow movement, it is very impressive that this is the very first game we've ever seen where you and a friend are working together or able to play together on the same screen at the same time. And to put another jank cog into the equation, the second player has to use the keyboard. So you can't even plug in two VIC-20 joysticks to play. Which is a little tricky because I'm not familiar with if the computer had the ports for two. Well, actually, I think some of the later models did, but you play on the Atari home computer. That one has 4 ports in front, but on the VIC-20, you had less options for controllers. So I'm just going to stop there. We don't have anybody else that would play on the keyboard with me anyway. But I'm going to say because of that, being the very first game, I have to say above average. Almost like when we played Combat. The very first game that we ever played that had the ability to connect 2 different computers together, like with a telephone line. And that was only text, sending signals back and forth to play the tank game. There wasn't even graphics for that game. But I said because of the originality of it, I said 3.5 for that one. I'm going to say the same for Ultimate Tank. It's an above average title. If you think of everything right now you could play on any home computer. Yeah, Richard's saying cool concept. I love it. Manly's with me on the 3.5. So yeah, it is a little rough around the edges, but because of that gameplay, I gotta go 3.5. It is above average. It's pretty cool. All right, let's see what our next game is. It's time to play Venture on our Atari VCS. Venture is one we've already seen since 1981 in the arcades, and then it was later ported to ColecoVision we saw last month, and here it is on our Atari VCS. Looks really similar to the ColecoVision. They just slapped a little sticker that says it's for the Atari 2600 VCS. So they are starting to officially call it the 2600. So cool. Does this mean you can take the cartridge and plug it right back into your ColecoVision with that expansion? Because you can play Atari VCS on it. All right, let's flip it over on the back. Here's where you play. We're playing as Winky. Winky returns. The heroic adventurer is off to claim treasures that lay hidden in the dungeon. In each chamber lies valuable prize protected by dangerous monsters. Winky must ward off the monsters with a bow and arrow to obtain the treasure. Use the joystick to maneuver them through halls in each chamber. So it's essentially what we've already played on the ColecoVision at home. And we're going to see this later on the Intellivision, I believe sometime in 1983. All right, what else do we have for Venture? Man, I love it in the arcades. 5 stars in the arcades, 5 stars on the ColecoVision. Let's see what it's like on the Atari. Here's what you would have seen in magazines at the time. Exclusive licensed arcade cartridges. And you can see all that stuff for ColecoVision. Donkey Kong, Venture. We haven't seen Mousetrap yet, or Turbo, or Carnival, or Ladybug. But we're going to see those soon. And this would be the poster that would have been in shops at the time. A Bold Treasure Hunt. And there it is. You actually have the screenshot of what it looks like on the Atari. Because that commercial that's playing in the background, that's the ColecoVision version of the commercial. I know, right? I don't think so. I think this is, after we see the Intellivision, that's the last port. No. It was only on consoles. All right, so there's the cartridge we're going to pop in on our Atari. It looks kind of like a ColecoVision cartridge. Pretty cool. And then some screenshots for you. We also have the manual for Venture. I'm not going to go through too much detail because this manual is really similar to the ColecoVision, and I'm going to point out while we're playing the differences between this and the Coleco port. Winky is in the dungeon. To get ready to play, there it is. TV set, check. Atari 2600, check. Put the cartridge in, check. Then turn it on. They even break down the, oh, look at this. There it is, the RF switch in the back. I'd still be playing on RF. So here's how we use our controls. The control stick moves the direction you want Winky to move, and then press the red button to make Winky fire in 8 different directions. You can choose your skill levels, and they don't do the usual game select switch. This is using the skill select switch, the A and B, which means how do you do this on a Sears system? Because I don't think the Sears system has the difficulty switches. And then explains up here, we have an example of a screenshot right here above my head showing you, the hallway and chamber. You start off as a small pixel, move into the room, and then the room gets bigger. We've already seen this on the arcade and at home. Okay, yes. If it does, please tell us when we start playing, Bardo, man. Thanks for not spoiling. All right, so to capture to capture treasure, you move Winking into one of the chambers, and it contains treasures and hazards. Once you're in the chamber, you can shoot arrows at monsters to defend yourself. Remember, in order to score points for shooting a monster, you have to get the treasure in that chamber. So there's no points for getting monsters. Very cool that they put that in the game. I didn't point that out in the arcade, that this is one of the first games that shooting things or killing things doesn't give you any points. It's only about the treasure. And then there you go. They give you an example of a zoomed-in room over there on the far side. If Winky stays too long in any chamber, the Hall Monster, yes, he's coming back. Going to take us out, just like Evil Otto or Evil Evan. Once you get the treasure, you can leave a chamber and never return. Then you go deeper in the dungeon. Now, does it tell us here the differences? It does not tell us. And there's the points over at the top right. You receive 4 Winkies per game. And then, as usual, ColecoVision says, there's more than just this manual. You should discover more in the game and have fun. All right, so this had a few versions. It was released by CBS Electronics in Europe or PAL regions, and then it was also released later by Atari. We're going to pop it and play the first one. This is by Joseph R. Beale of Coleco Industries, brought over by Exidy, and later published by Atari at sometime in September 1982. So as we begin this, if I push the game select switch, nothing happens. If I push option, nothing happens. It just goes, the only way you can change the difficulty out is if you're switching off the difficulty switches on your Atari VCS. All right, let's go ahead and hit reset and go. Oh wait, it started us on the second level. Let me try a different reset. Okay, yeah, I think they did do the switch. There we go. I wanted to start from the beginning because this is the first map you would see. All right, I'm beginning as the small pixel down the bottom. Let's move our way into the room. Yes, so Winky moves. Oh, we got a little bit of flicker, just a little bit. Not nearly as insane as the other flickers we've seen on the Atari VCS. I'll go ahead and grab our treasure, and I don't think we don't need to kill everyone. Just leave. Control-wise, feels very smooth. Got 8 different directions to move, 8 different shots. Let's move to the next room with the skeletons. One of the first things I noticed that's the biggest between this and ColecoVision is the lack of music. The tunes are gone. Where's the tunes, man? It's all quiet and silent. We get our points from our treasure. Ubicore is already bored. There's the wall monster. Wall banger. Wall monster, is that what it was called? All right, we won't let Evil Otto come after us. All right, let's head to the next room. The other thing, too, is it's not coloring them in. We have to remember what room we've completed. So Exidy allowed them to do this, but all the work apparently was done by Coleco to bring this one over. I know, right? The music was great going from each room to room. All right, we'll go ahead into the last room. And then, like, it's the wall room. Nice. The walls are closing in. I'm just going to sneak my way right here. Grab the treasure. Sneak my way out. Easy peasy. It feels like they didn't make the walls close enough. All right, so there you go. All 4 rooms are done. You can't even really tell because they're not colored in. And then we move on to the second map. And this is it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the biggest difference, besides the music, between this and the other version is the ColecoVision and the arcade were pretty much identical. You had 3 maps and all 12 tombs. Here, it's only this map and the other one. There's only 2 maps, so you don't even get all the levels on the Atari. Is it a true arcade experience? ColecoVision is. All right, we'll make our way in here. We get a key that will unlock no door, and since I don't get points, what's the point of killing everybody? We'll go and make our way to the next room. Oh, he got us! If you look in the top right, those 3 dashes are our lives, so it's going to bring us down to 2 lives. I'm still my tiny, tiny pixel. But I still got to say, yeah, I even though this one is minimal or less than the ColecoVision, this is still really fun and really good for an Atari VCS game. Excellent. Get the treasure. And let's go. I know it does feel like, oh, they got me in the main hallway, so they bit my pixel. We'll make our way on the middle. So if I remember correctly, yeah. So notice I try to go in the room, it won't work. You have to remember which room it is. So we have the middle room, and then we got the far right one. Yep, can't go in that one. I'll make my way over here. We only got one life, so we got to do this really careful. All right, here we go. Next room. I'm not going to test it out, but I wanted to know if whenever you kill an enemy, notice how their carcass lays there for a second? You can't touch that either, or you'll die. Oh, there he goes. Wall monster's coming straight at us. He's going right for the exit. He just made a beeline to cut us off. All right, last room now. So I was blown away at how well the ColecoVision version was done. It was one of the best games you could play on a home console. This one is very, very good and fun on the Atari VCS, but because that ColecoVision's out there, see, now we loop back to the first map. And then it's going to get progressively difficult or automatically. Oh, it did it. When you touch the carcass, you die. So you have to make sure to wait for it. But still love the concept of the overworld map, and from the overworld you go to a smaller one. That's one of the big reasons the arcade version was so cool. And then soon after that, we saw a game called Route 16 that did the same thing but driving. It was like Rally X and Venture mixed together. So I love that. Flipping the screen from one to the other, like it feels like you're exploring or going to something bigger. Also notice the Atari isn't giving me an arrow. It's a single pixel. I don't have a true arrow to take it out. All right, I'm just going to sneak by. He's not going to cooperate. Yeah, time's a wasting. The wall monster's coming for us. Oh, that's a good point, Charlie Chuck. Yeah, the control on the Atari VCS, I would much rather prefer that one compared to the ColecoVision controller. All right, let's see if we can make our escape, or they're going to give us problems. So Charlie's already thrown out 4.5. I see Brian saying 4 and Manly saying 4 of all the games so far. Now, because of the other games we've seen for home consoles, I would consider this one of the best games you could play on a home console, and that'd be our 4.5 or 5-star range. Is that our last life? Yeah. And whenever you die, then you're pretty much done. So there you go. That's Venture, a quick taste of what you would be playing brand new on your Atari VCS right now. I'd say this is 4 stars. It's not up there in the range of one of the best games you could play on a home console. It's very, very good. It's a well-done game, but I'm going to say 4 stars of everything so far you can play right now on a home console. Yeah, 4. Yeah, that's true. It is very cool, Ubicore. Yep. And for Atari, it is very well done. If we were going to do this based on everything you can play right now on the Atari, it's impressive. This is programmed very well. Oh, that's true. Yeah, and you can take. I wish you could take the ColecoVision game and play it on your Atari with that controller. But I'm sure there's adapters right now you could play. Yes, definitely. Really, really fun though. Great port and very well done. All right, it's time to put the video game playing on pause and tune in another day. Hit the break key, hit escape, whatever computer you're running on or whatever console you're running on. Tune in next episode for another new release by Apollo for your Atari VCS and a roguelike on your IBM PC. That's it for today, and like I always say, every video game can be an adventure. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.